Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week we're going to be talking about cordless outdoor lawn equipment, and we'd like to thank Dan Seaton for liking and sharing the podcast. We got a few emails this week from people who read book 7, who said they're looking forward to book 8.
Did they like book 7?
I don't know whether they mentioned whether they liked it or not. But they said they're looking forward to book 8, which should be out sometime in July. The first U.S. patent for a real lawnmower was in 1830. And I spoke to the American Lawnmower Company. They were established in 1895. They make the Earthwise cordless lawnmower. And they also make a cordless string trimmer, a hedge trimmer, and a chainsaw. And their line is called the Zombie line of power tools.
Can't imagine why you would pick that.
How cool is that? So American Lawnmower Company, they made real lawnmowers used by groups of lawn keepers to mow the grass for the Chicago World's Fair. And it's pretty cool to see these pictures of 20 guys in a row mowing with these hand lawnmowers. And real mowers are sometimes called cylinder mowers. Originally, they had a long handle connected to a cylinder with multiple cutting blades. And the cylinder was connected to the two wheels, and a gear drove that cylinder. So there was a large gear on the wheel, and every time that wheel gear turned, it turned the cylinder about 16 times, and that's what cut the grass. Gears were used around 200 to 300 BC in Egypt, and they found gears that date back to around 300 to 400 BC in China. Cordless outdoor lawn equipment has really improved the last few years. The battery and motor technology is giving cordless tools the power to be very similar to gas-powered tools. Battery life is increasing with smarter technology, and this is built into the whole system. Cordless, brushless motors have less friction, longer life, and more power. And a couple manufacturers said they have up to a 50% longer life than older models. And some
Wasn't that the knock on them? They weren't as powerful.
Yeah, you didn't have as much torque. So if you were like a lawnmower, for example, if you were going through thick or wet grass,
right,
it wouldn't mulch if you had a mulcher style.
And the runtime was really short, too.
Right, yeah, terrible. Yeah, even just a few years ago. And some of these new brushless motors have a lot of technology built into it. So they have sensors to adjust the speed and the torque, and that's going to help increase your runtime in your battery. And then if too much stress is put onto the tool, some have built-in circuit protection to shut down the tool. Lithium ion is the dominant battery technology. They're going to be lighter, have more power, run longer, and charge faster than the nickel-based batteries. With cordless lawn equipment, you don't have to store gas, run out to get gas, worry about oil.
Unless you have a chainsaw.
Right, even with a cordless chainsaw, you're going to need bar oil, but you don't need fuel stabilizer for the off-season, spark plugs, tune-ups. Cordless tools are going to be lighter, they create less noise, they're less maintenance, and easier to start. And I read a couple articles on the long-term cost of gas versus cordless, and it's going to vary between the gas and electric costs. And this was on lawnmowers. So one article said a gas lawnmower over 10 years cost about $600 for the gas, the oil, filters, plugs, and tune-ups. And a cordless mower with similar power with one new battery after 5 years cost about $400. Another article said after 100 hours of use, cordless is less expensive on the mowers they compared. Another report said the cost is about the same with battery replacement, but the pollution produced is significantly less with cordless. The University of Arkansas studied gas versus cordless and the cost to operate trimmers and blowers to maintain their campus, and they also wanted to reduce pollution. With the trimmers and leaf blowers they compared, carbon released into the air from the gas equipment was double the carbon from charging the batteries. They also analyzed the cost over 5 years. The gas equipment cost about $300 a year because of spark plugs, tune-ups, gas, and oil, where the cordless only cost about $130 a year. But this was only after 5 years. So you'd have to figure in the cost of a new battery after 5 to 7 years or so.
Okay.
When you're comparing cordless power equipment, volts gives you an idea of the power. Higher volts in general will have more power, and the motor can produce more torque.
What is that?
It's the twisting force.
And that's important?
That's a good thing. Amp hours, you'll see AH is going to compare the... yes, if you see it's going to compare the capacity of the battery, how much energy is stored in the battery. So a 4 amp hour battery will run longer than a 2 amp hour battery. And for handheld tools like a string trimmer, you might want a lower amp hour battery because it's going to be lighter. But if you're using it for areas with heavy grass or weeds, or if you have a large area, a higher amp hour battery, it's going to run longer without having to charge it or change the battery. And for larger equipment, like a lawn mower or a snow blower, a higher amp hour battery is going to last longer, especially if you have to occasionally go through wet grass or heavy snow.
Okay.
Not all tools will list the amp hours on the specifications, so it's hard to know if you're comparing similar battery capacities. So another thing I would check for is the run time in minutes. Some companies are going to list the estimated time the battery is going to last under normal working conditions. So it's nice to be able to compare tools like that. Also compare the charge time. I looked at a few lawnmowers and they varied from 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, up to 3.5 hours to recharge the battery. And the charge time may not matter if you have a long enough run time to finish your projects or if you have a backup battery, but it's a nice thing to compare.
Okay.
Check the box to see if a battery and charger is included. Many manufacturers will have the option of tools with or without the battery and charger, which is really a nice option if you're planning on getting a variety of tools from the same company that use the same battery. And that way you don't have multiple chargers or batteries that you're not using. Also save you some money. If you're looking at handheld equipment like a blower, a string trimmer, or a hedge trimmer, compare the weight. And if you can get to a home center or hardware store with display models, see which one feels easier to control or feels good in your hands.
Did you go to a lot of home centers this week?
Yeah, I got some great pictures for Instagram. So Fix It Home Improvement on Instagram. You should compare the warranties not only on the tool but on the battery and compare the features. Lawnmowers, for example, how many height adjustments are there? Does it fold up or can you stand it on end for easier storage? Many cordless mowers now are self-propelled. Wow. That's how powerful the batteries are. What's the cutting width, the deck material? Some of them have headlights now for night mowing.
Night mowing? You're out there at midnight?
Because it's cordless and quiet, yes. Is it mulching, bagging, the number of positions for the handle, and the recommended yard size, which is a nice thing to look at because that gives you an idea of how long the runtime is.
Okay.
I spoke to LawnServe. It's LAWN, capital SERV. They have a subscription lawn care service. And they suggested for the healthiest lawn to change your mowing pattern every time you mow so you don't create ruts in your lawn. And by changing the direction you cut your grass blades, it's healthier.
Really?
In general, they
said...
my
grandfather knew what he was doing?
What, he was constantly changing how he mowed?
In the front lawn, he always did it at a diagonal.
Okay.
So every other week it was a different pattern.
Yeah, they say it's healthy.
I just thought he was crazy.
Well, it could be both. In general, they said keep cool season grass around 3 inches long and warm season grass around 2 inches long. That's if you have a mix of grass types in your lawn. If you have a specific type of grass in your area, then they say check the recommended height.
Right.
Longer grass in general, you're going to have longer roots. It's going to make your lawn more resilient. They also recommend sharpening your mower blade before the beginning of each season and only remove up to 1/3 of the grass blade every time you mow. I spoke to Worx. It's WORX. They recommended comparing the amp hours when you're shopping for cordless tools. The bigger the number, the longer your run time's going to be. And pick cordless for equipment like a hedge trimmer, where it's easy to accidentally cut an extension cord. And also string trimmers around large landscape areas and fences. Cordless is going to give you more mobility. They said the greatest loss of trimmer line is coming in contact with hard surfaces like fences and landscape border material. A trimmer that uses thicker line is going to last longer and shred less. If you're buying lawn equipment, consider buying tools that use the same battery and charger or tools that do multiple jobs. They recommended their Works GT Revolution. It's a trimmer, edger, and mini mower all in one tool.
No way.
And that same battery and charger is compatible with more than 25 other lawn and garden and power tools. They also recommended their cordless jaw saw if you've never worked with a chainsaw. They say it's much safer and easier to use. It has a jaw that grabs onto a branch and it covers the chain, and it helps protect you against injury from a kickback. You should read the maintenance and care recommendations for your power equipment, even if they're all lithium ion. The battery and the charger technology is going to be different between companies, and most batteries are not going to be interchangeable. For your larger tools like a mower or a snowblower, lithium ion is going to be the most popular battery type, but lead acid batteries are used by some cordless lawnmowers and snowblowers.
What's that?
And so this was developed in the 1800s. It's very similar to like a deep cycle battery. They're considered very safe and dependable. The average cycle
Lead acid battery is very safe.
Well, they're sealed, and you're not messing with them. You don't take a hammer to it. The average cycle life is 1,200 cycles, so that's how many times it can be charged and discharged before the performance drops. One study I read said with the lead acid batteries, if you only discharge it 50% and then recharge it, they increase the cycles to 1,800. But if you discharge it by 80% or more, it could drop down to around 600 cycles. So pretty dramatic drop in performance just by the way you use it. With the lithium-ion batteries, the cycle life can be anywhere from 1,500 to 1,900 cycles on a few of the reports I read.
Okay.
With lithium-ion batteries, many companies recommend keeping them charged after each use or slightly below a full charge for long-term storage. So having a meter or a fuel gauge is a good feature on a battery where you have multiple LEDs. That way you can tell the level rather than just one indicator where it's green for good and red for low. A couple manufacturers recommended don't discharge lithium-ion more than 80%. It's better to charge more frequently and rotate your batteries. Don't store an extra battery. If it's stored too long, it'll shorten its life or it'll make it unusable. So with my tools, I have 2 batteries for my mower and my snowblower and also my trimmer. So I've marked each of my batteries with an A and a B, and then I rotate them each week.
Exciting.
I thought you'd be impressed. I looked at the maintenance recommendations for a few manufacturers. For Snapper's cordless lawnmower, this is an 82-volt lithium-ion. They recommend to routinely blow out or vacuum the air vents on the charger and wipe it off with a dry, soft cloth, and always remove the battery before storing or anytime the charger is unplugged. They say keep the battery stored at room temperature and keep it fully charged if the battery is going to be stored for more than 3 months.
Interesting.
A DeWalt manual says if batteries are being charged in an area that's too hot or too cold, the battery won't take a full charge and it can be damaged. They say when batteries are being charged, a chemical reaction is taking place and extreme temperatures can disrupt the charging process. The maintenance recommendations were pretty detailed on the Sunjoe 40-volt lithium-ion brushless lawnmower. So they're saying do not charge in rain, snow, damp, or wet conditions. Do not use the charger around flammable or dusty material. Sparks generated when you insert or remove the battery could lead to a fire. Do not block the charger vents. Keep them clean and clear for ventilation. And do not smoke or have an open flame by the charger. The vented gases while you're charging could explode.
Wow. Who knew?
Charge your battery at room temperature. Charging at temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit can cause chemical damage to the cells and cause a fire. Do not use an extension cord on your charger. And store your battery in a cool, dry location between 50 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. They say the ideal temperature is 59 degrees Fahrenheit and have it charged to a minimum of 40%. Don't expose to high heat over 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and replace your battery when it only charges up to 80%. And then you want to fully charge it for long-term storage. Replace the battery if it's been dropped from a height of more than 3 feet. The cells could be damaged and it could be a fire hazard.
Really?
You don't want to fully deplete the battery. You want to charge it when the performance drops and then fully charge it. If you completely deplete it, it can shorten its life. And don't allow it to freeze. If the battery's at temperatures below 32 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 60 minutes, they recommend replacing it.
Wow.
It's crazy what you can learn if you read the manual. When you're replacing a battery for your tool, check the date code on the packaging. Lithium-ion batteries can lose around 5% a month of its charge, and if it's sat on a shelf for years, and if it's completely depleted, it can damage the cells.
Yeah, whether it sat in the warehouse for a long time and then it got to the store.
Yeah, so it's a nice thing to check.
If there's a lot of dust on it, I wouldn't buy it.
Some top-rated cordless lawnmowers: Ego, it's E-G-O, Ryobi, R-Y-O-B-I, Sunjo, Earthwise, Greenworks, Snapper, Black & Decker, and Works. Some top-rated string trimmers that are cordless: Black & Decker, Works, Toro, Greenworks, Ryobi, and DeWalt. Blowers: Greenworks, Black & Decker, Ego, Works, and Makita. And for hedge trimmers, Greenworks, Black & Decker, Ryobi, and Works.
Do you have anything else to add?
When you're comparing cordless tools, volts is going to tell you the power. Amp hours is how much storage capacity your battery has. And if that's not listed, take a look at the battery run time, also how much time it takes to charge the battery, and read your manual for the maintenance recommendations.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Himalaya, CastBox, or your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our ebooks, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 7. And in July, we're going to be releasing book 8, and you can check those out on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter @FixItCohost, and you can follow us on Instagram, Fix It Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.
Do